Tal, you mentioned DNA records.
Right.
What can it do, and why did you do it?
Basically, you probably, some of you know, there's a company called 23andMe, and they let you spit in a little
Test
tube, and they sequence your DNA for various known issues or mutations or anything you want to know. And the interesting thing about them, in comparison to other organizations that already did it before, is the fact that they come up with insights of their own. Like they would say, they would discover, already discovered specific correlations between specific genes and the fact that people have curly hair. And that's totally their discovery. So they ask and engage with surveys their customers all the time, and they publish new insights and revelations all the time. And that's a very cool model, and I think we'll probably see it in less grandiose things like genetics, in niche things, but the model is pretty much the same.
I think now we are very far from retargeting, and if we take all these kind of things we were talking now about medicine, this kind of, there are necklaces, Nike have this kind of necklace, and I just yesterday saw a necklace that, and also this one I think, is monitoring your sleep, and in the morning you connect your mobile phone and you see how many hours you sleep, how many hours you sleep deep, how deep was your sleep, and etc. When you take all this knowledge with crowdsourcing or with information from the web, and you see all the people that have the same problems or the same sleep with you, and then you know from the people, from their knowledge, what they do to get over it or to sleep better, and then he gives you some recommendation how people solve their sleeping problem, then you can see a big data or this kind of data thing that helps you to connect and interact with the web. I want to go, we are getting close to the end, but I want to go to a subject that maybe like big data is just a phrase that will go over from the world, privacy. Is there a place for privacy where everybody and Amazon above everyone can see everything and know everything about everyone? What do you think about privacy? What do you do with privacy? And do you think there's going to be a huge lawsuit against Amazon someday in the future, like same, or Google?
All right, good question. So certainly I'm not associated with the retail side of Amazon, but I do know that those folks are extremely careful with how they manage data. There's a clean separation of the personally identifying information versus the order information. There's a lot of tracking, there's a lot of rules. The everyday employee certainly doesn't have the ability to simply go into a record and say, okay, what did Jeff buy today? What did you buy yesterday? And so forth. That's very carefully monitored. There's actually there's systems in place that say let's protect that information. There's levels of encryption, there's levels of security, there's training, there's policies. But people do have the right to ask about those things and to say I am concerned. I'd like to understand what an organization's privacy policies are and what is happening to my data, how is it being used. And you should be an informed user and consumer of these kinds of situations.
I think that when you look at it and when you try to analyze it, we've essentially became data generating machines or creatures. I don't know. If you look at so you walk around with the Fitbit or a band or whatever, and someone out there knows exactly where you've physically been and what exactly you've done with your body. You surf the web and you use your phone, and somebody knows what are your interests, so you know what's in your mind, and you analyze your DNA, and you know what you're built out of. And at that point, I think it's for each of us to kind of decide if you're willing to give up all this information, even if it's not you're not specifically identifiable. You know, even if you're just profiled to be that kind of person, are you willing to give this up in order to get something that's really amazing, And I think that's like a premise for each I don't know, service provider to provide. If you are able to provide something that's extremely cool, and then people will go, you know what? I'm giving you all this information. Give me something incredible back.
Yeah, I think we have to kind of watch out and make sure that we understand where things are being used.
Exactly, it's a matter of understanding.
Of this is what I'm willing to get in exchange for.
Responsible to the user.
Yeah, you need to be educated. You need to be aware. I think that most users I call them users. People in this crowd are probably somewhat aware, but not to the full extent of what's being collected. I think that people outside of this conference are probably not aware at all and probably don't care. And I think it's really a matter of responsibility, maybe even education, to understand, to be responsible to what's being done with your data, and then make an educated decision. I think that what's being deprived from most people is just this knowledge and education of where they stand.
I agree. I think it's also a gradual process. It's not like privacy is going to go away. Even today, we're in a level of privacy that we didn't think we'd have 5 years ago. If I would come to you and tell you everyone would put their own profile page, a picture on the web next to their name and not alias, some people would say I'm crazy. And I think it's a question of what you're getting back. If you're getting back enough, you give more and more and more, and in the end, personally, if someone wants to look at my dirty laundry, but more seriously, I think it's a question of the actual risk, and risk is a question of fear, and fear is not something very rational. So I think we can discuss it again the first time a disaster will happen, a privacy disaster will happen, and it's probably going to happen sometime. So I think every discussion will probably change, and it will be probably a gradual process.
So I think if we kind of bring this back to big data, the issue isn't always going to be what does your phone collect, or what does your ISP collect, or what does your electric company collect. The big data model and the fear actually together really says, let's put two of those things together, and then what do we get? If we correlate your phone to your car usage, for example, can we detect unusual situations? And I think that's what we actually need to be very, very careful about enabling and authorizing. If we say, okay, if we can put two disparate sources of data together and somehow kind of zip them together along some common key, and suddenly say, oh, we see that this person is talking all the time while they're driving their car very fast. Do we then just send them traffic tickets in the mail for citations for driving too fast and using their phone at the same time? That would be, I think, a legitimate kind of thing to worry about with big data.
Jeff, you are in Israel. It's your first time in Israel. Welcome. We are a very nice country, surrounded with a lot of enemies, if you didn't notice. And we have a lot of data to give. But we have also a lot of entrepreneurs. And I suppose some of them here, or maybe they don't think as an entrepreneur yet. After you will tell us what you think is worth entrepreneuring in your business, they will be. If you were a startup today, what would you go? What in your business? Where that you see?
Well, I would really take advantage of what we can see with the technology. We get an incredible amount of really inexpensive storage. We get a lot of inexpensive processing power, and that is really big data when you put it together. We can store a lot of information, we can process it very cost effectively. So you need to think in terms of what are my data sources, what kind of really interesting math and algorithms and analytics can I then apply to this data, and what can I actually pull back that's an observation that I can sell that observations, or I can monetize in some interesting way. I think that's how I would think about it.
Okay, questions, please.
I wanted actually to hear more about the analyzing process of data. You said before that sometimes you see this correlation between A and B. You don't really know why. So do you just let the numbers and figures talk? Or is there an analyzing process, maybe in your brains? Maybe it's not technology, but you invest your brains and stuff in how you do it. Tell me.
That's an excellent question. I think in very complex situations, we as humans, we tend to try try to find a simple, structured rule, but sometimes there isn't. Sometimes the world is chaotic, and you just need to model the chaos right, and you won't be able to take a rule, and just the same way you won't be able to take a neural network that was well trained on something and derived human rules from it. It's just something that is not this kind of comprehension of the data. It's something else. It's very powerful, but that's the disadvantage.
So we're going to get the correlations with the big data, but not necessarily understand the causes. So that's probably the case. You see that A implies B and B implies C, and you look at that and say that's really interesting, but it's kind of a separate question actually why that is indeed happening, but maybe the why part does not really help you to succeed or not in your business. So it's an interesting thing you might want to research just out of personal curiosity, but it doesn't really help you to do a better job with the information.
Yeah, it's very exciting, very interesting, and
can you say in 2 words more?
I'm Erez Cohen, a lecturer in the University Media. So it's very interesting and exciting. New field and a lot of computation. It's not accidental that we started with marketing. And I was wondering if you think there will be a reaction, like people, you said education, but people will actually resist it and will work to jeopardize this collection of data. For example, we had somebody design a shirt that with all those face to pass if you want face recognition with Facebook. So I wonder if you predict that there will be social reaction against this kind of big data, or even use big data against cooperation, against companies, as a tool, as a social tool. We already see people using it. So I wonder if the other, you obviously want to make money, and it's fair enough, but I wonder if you could about the other, let's say, political, moral implications.
So I think.
Would the people fight back? That's what he asks.
Yeah, so I think I'll split my answer to 2. I think that 1, maybe some people, but there'll be a little bit of radicals and stuff like that. It will be a side effect. I think that the mainstream will not care. And I think that there's a little bit of like hypocrisy in whoever is using the internet, because you need to pay for what you're consuming. You don't want to pay for it. So you go, fine, I'll have some banners on the site. And if there are banners on the site, and if we agree on the fact that they are there, what would you really rather have? Something that's completely unrelated, annoying, and low quality stuff? Or do you want something that can really be interesting for you to the extent that it's almost content, or even real content? So what would you rather have? And I think the answer there is obvious. And the generation that is growing today is already using tons of services where they give up all this information willingly. So they're growing up, we grew up differently, but my kids, they won't know better, I think. I'll probably tell them stuff, but they'll care less than I do.
More questions? So, I don't know if we have 2 more minutes, but I think this is the most interesting panel, and there's nothing more interesting than our panel outside. So, Jeff, if it's possible, I have 2 personal questions. Did you meet Jeff Bezos?
Yes, I actually have. And Jeff's a really smart guy, and after you spend about 2 minutes with him, you understand why he's so successful.
Why?
He's really smart. He's really, really smart. His mind works incredibly quickly. You have a lot of trouble actually keeping up with him.
What kind of manager is he?
I've never had to actually be managed by Jeff, so I couldn't tell you.
But people are talking in Amazon, I think. No, you heard something.
When you go into a meeting with Jeff, you go in with a plan, and typically it has to be no more than 6 printed pages, and you can't
6 printed.
6 printed pages.
It's a lot.
And whenever you put a plan together, you generally know that you've got a lot of strong parts, and maybe you know that some part somewhere in there is maybe a little bit shaky. When I've watched him read those plans, he goes through and he finds that shaky part within about 15 seconds and zooms in on it, and it's like, hey, what about this thing? And you're like thinking, oh no, he found the secret weakness.
Amazing. What do you think he's going to do with the Washington Post?
No idea whatsoever.
Nothing.
That's his personal investment. That's not an Amazon investment. So,
what's the next step? Amazon is Amazon, and then Kindle, and now AWS.
Amazon Web
And
Services.
what's the next step for Amazon? You think?
we don't publish roadmaps. We don't really try to expose the future. So we have a very different model than most companies, where a lot of companies will try to paint a picture of the future before they have any actual product, before they have any offering, try to get people hooked on the vision rather than on the reality. Our model is very different. At the point when we announce something, it's tangible. You can hold it on your hand, and you can go and you can use it, or you can buy it. And so that seems to work a lot better for us than.
So you don't have in Rosh Hashanah a vision talk with Jeff Bezos that says we're going to there, or like Steve Jobs?
They undoubtedly exist, but they don't get shared with me.
Not Rosh Hashanah dinner in Amazon.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, don't go away. We have our next session coming up right about now. So I'd like to tell you a bit about Ofra Strauss.